Hello, welcome. It is me, Danielle Carmelita, your favorite tarot reader and astrologer, and I'm doing another live video back to back. Okay, Drake, back to back. Anyway, yeah, I am doing this video on Saturn and Neptune being conjunct in Aries. There is an 8-hour podcast. Okay, it is by an 8-hour and 50-minute episode podcast. The show is called the Astrology Podcast, and the episode is titled Saturn-Neptune Conjunctions in History. And they trace over the powerful conjunction, Neptune and Saturn, throughout history and what it reveals and the most significant events that occur. So the collapses, the transformations, spiritual upheavals, and any type of ideological, any type of theory that has changed, right? Or a shift in human history. It is a great podcast. I do invite you to listen to it if you have time and break it down. Sometimes it takes me 3-4 days to listen to one podcast episode. But if you're really into astrology, you should definitely follow this podcast. Is Berman. He's really intelligent, and I think a lot of astrologers got together to do this. But I have got inspired by this podcast, and I've decided to condense it. It is the research that they have done. I've condensed it. I've added my own predictions, of course, my own knowledge of astrology too, and my personal insight. So I go a little bit more deeper in the prediction part. But I have used their information for the historical part. And I first want to tell you that Saturn and Neptune conjunction is really going to happen in 2026, but we are going to have a 1 separation degree orb in 2025. Okay, so that is what I want you to understand. I'm going to actually show this chart here and really show you what we have here. So we have this happens actually in July. What's going to happen here? Around July, we will see that it gets closer, right? So if you see here, let me see if I can back this up. Back it on up. Okay, if you see here, they get close together. When Saturn enters Aries, they're 1 orb apart and they're sitting close together. Now, they were already sitting close together in 2024. We already felt them together, but they were in the sign Pisces. If you see, well, that's not 2024. We'll take it back to 2024 when they were sitting close together. Not as close, but you see they're in the same sign, right? And now they're going to Aries. They're a 1 degree orb apart. I'm going to talk about the common incidents that happen with this. I'm going to explain how this is going to affect us collectively, individually as well. And I'm going to just explain the energy, okay? There is something that we need to understand. First of all, Aries alone means war, okay? There is something that you guys I cannot say that enough. I don't mean to scare you. Aries means a lot of things, but the main thing it means is war. But first, we will talk about what is the Saturn and Neptune conjunction. Okay, so that is what we're first going to talk about. And the conjunction is, first of all, Saturn represents structure, it represents control, it represents rules, discipline, restriction, governments, corporations. So any type of big infrastructure, okay, like a big building, people in uniform, so like the police, all that is Saturn. Tradition, it represents time, it also represents reality. Okay, Neptune is the planet of our dreams. It's mysticism, it's illusion, there is foggy. This is when all the conspiracy theories, all that is from Neptune, because it's like, is it true, is it not true? There's darkness, there's fear, there's no boundaries, there's deception, there's spirituality and escapism. So a lot of addictions and drugs, okay? Anything dealing with medication too, because that is a drug, believe it or not. So when these 2 planets meet, they meet every 36 years, okay? And we are going to witness this coming to term, okay? Now, 2025 is going to be 1 degree orb apart. However, in 2026, it will be right at a conjunction. So twice we're going to be feeling it, and the energy is going to be revved up by 2026. So 2025, summer of 2025, I cannot repeat this enough, we're really going to be feeling it. And then in 2026, all of it will be happening. more intensity. Okay. So a cosmic reckoning between illusion, reality, control, and transcendence. There is restriction, and at the same time, there's a release. So we'll see. This could be the collapse of great powers or belief systems. This could be a rise of spirituality and authority. This could be a cultural or spiritual change happening. And this could be, again, secrets, illusions, fear, rebellion, and restructuring that. Okay. Now, before I even get to um what happens for the predictions, I do want to you to understand that a lot of people are going to be born with this transit in their chart. Okay, so if you're giving birth around this time in 2025, and if you're giving birth in 2026, or you know someone who's giving birth, let me just tell you some things that they will have. And every 36 years this happens, these two planets meet. So we do have this within our world of these people acting like this, right? So you have spiritual realists, people who are dreamers and doers at the same time. Isn't that a great energy? I think that's very positive. Positive. Anyway, they're sacred builders too. They blend the spiritual with the structural. So someone who's like healing, and then there's a health aspect with it, or someone who's religious, but then are a politician at the same time. Someone who involves art and architect together. Someone who also involves film, because Neptune represents film. This is going to be a new start of films, and also too, and law, that also is our discipline with film, also too, music and discipline as well too. So you have that, and this is the energy. Anyone born with this chart may be the carriers of a collective responsibility. They're going to be carrying the weight on their shoulders. Okay, they might be born into families or cultures that have a huge trauma or addiction, or there is some type of repression. They might be healing ancestral wounds or going through spiritual maturity as well. People born with this transit in their chart, they also have discipline and integrity. They stay aligned with the truth. They're visionary leaders, self-destructive escapism. There's little in between here. Also, too, there's testing when you're dealing with, anytime you're dealing with Saturn, there's always a test, okay? Because it's dealing with your karma. So there could be a lot of isolation and sacrifice happening with these people, with these elements in their chart, with this aspect in their chart. But they could be struggling with boundaries. They could be struggling with authorities throughout their whole life. They can be overgiving. They could be hiding or maybe self-sacrificing a lot. But a lot of deep inner faith. People are going to be born with this energy. Slow to trust too could be an issue that they can have as well, but they could be very spiritual, or like spiritual leaders, architects of new systems, because we are talking about Aries, and a truth teller. When there is a fog, they are bringing a reality. Okay. So you do have that. Now, I just want to explain more about this conjunction. And before I talk about Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries, okay? So we're done with explaining what people being born with this, because, I read charts for a living. So I like to explain so people can understand things. But let me just tell you what Aries represents. I've discussed this several times. I have several videos on this. I have this video on it. This is just Neptune in Aries. I talk about Saturn in Aries, and it's on this playlist. So if you want to, I should have linked it down below. If I remember, I'll link it down below, but I'll add it to the cards, hopefully afterwards. But it's a playlist. Check it out. It's really good. Okay. Now, Aries alone, some keywords for Aries. It's quick. It's urgent, it's impatient, it is the daredevil, it is the warrior, it likes to get things started, it wants to do something new, okay? It's very impulsive, it could be very selfish, it's urgent, and it's very courageous, okay? It rules over the head. So this is something I have to explain when we talk about this conjunction, so you guys can understand a lot of things, because Saturn is the planet that gave us the COVID, okay? Yes, I'm blaming Saturn, but Saturn is a big part of COVID. So I want you to understand that um, Aries, the sign Aries, rules the head. Anything externally or anything internally, it symbolizes that. It also symbolizes like a helmet. That's why you have like the warrior. So they're always quick to fight, whether it's verbal or physical. And it also is a very physical energy. You are talking about somewhat of the body, but it's really about the self, okay? But you're talking about the brain, the face, the eyes, not necessarily the throat, but that's more Taurus energy, but literally it could be like symbolic of having sight and clarity. Also the nose and sinuses and the skull and cranium. Aries also is about headaches, okay? Migraines. If you know anyone who has a strong Aries, if you see they have like big heads, like Rihanna has Aries placements. I think she's an Aries rising. Even though she's a Pisces, she has more Aries. She has an Aries stallion. That's why she wears red. Aries also represents red lipstick and all that stuff, and had red hair for a long time. But you could have headaches. You could have like a strong jawline and facial tension. Very rush or racing thoughts are very like rush in speech. Aries energy, I want you to understand this because I want you to comprehend what's going to happen with this conjunction. And once you understand it, then you're like, oh my gosh, Danielle Carmelita said this. And because even me explaining Aries, you'll see some predictions just along with that, like something new beginning with the head. Okay, literally. Also too, you have inflammation and sinuses, or like the ears, or skin flare-ups on the face. Okay, all that is very Aries. Okay, Aries is also the new. It is the beginning. It's the first zodiac of the astrology. So you're talking about beginnings, birth. Something will emerge, something emergence. Okay. Aries is also about the self. It is a rule. It's the first house energy, so it's self identity. It governs the ego, how you present yourself physically and energetically, because it's Mars is the ruler of Aries. Okay, it's also your instinct. It's your gut. And now Neptune is in Aries. So a lot of jumping to conclusions of your gut. What is your gut instinct saying? That's being tied in together too. We'll see how that goes. Okay. Now let me explain. Now that you know what Aries means, let me tell you what Saturn in Aries means. Okay. Saturn in Aries, the themes are, first of all, Saturn rules the bones, the knees, the joints, your teeth, your skin, chronic conditions. Chronic conditions, okay? Aging, time, and karma. That's why they say I have long COVID. That is that Saturn representing that when people say long COVID. Another side note, arthritis. My husband is a Capricorn moon. He always has knee problems. He had to have knee surgery at the age of 18 on both knees. My son, who is a teenager, has arthritis and he had it diagnosed young. He is a Capricorn sun. So I want you to understand that the sickness and the body ailments of Capricorn is very strong. And that's a whole nother thing. I need to do that in my subgroup, in my community, talk about astrology and medical things because it's very important there. Okay. Saturn, it carries a burden. Also, that's why you see that arthritis tied in that, because you know a lot of people associate arthritis with age, and that is Saturn. Saturn is time anyway. But Saturn is taking responsibility for your identity when it's in Aries, right? Your desires, your direction. There's discipline with your instinct. Okay. There's very a mature warrior. Someone's going to be very mature as they are fighting and competition kind of energy, confronting ego wounds. There's leadership that is going to be tested. It's independence with accountability. Okay. You are on your own and you are accountable. No one's there watching you. You're accountable on your own. There could be major challenges with male authority figures as well, because Saturn represents the mentor, the father, the elder, anything that's very masculine energy. Saturn represents that. So a lot of challenges with that. Maybe there is some new things starting with companies like new corporations, new government systems, all that. Remember, new and structural corporation themes happening. Now let's talk about Neptune in Aries. And I've done a video on each of these things, but I wanted to explain it so then we can get into the conjunction. Now, Neptune rules your immune system, okay? Remember that when we have this conjunction, and if we have any sicknesses, because you know you have the bird flu fluffing over, hovering over. Okay. Also is very sensitive. So you can be very sensitive to things. And when Neptune has bad aspects, towards Neptune, I always say don't take any medication because you're going to be more sensitive to it. If you can, don't take any. But it's a sensitivity. It's about toxins, and it's also about the feet, the bottom of your body, because Aries is the beginning, Neptune is the ruler of the endings. Okay. Now Neptune in Aries is talking about the spiritual warrior. It's fighting for your dreams, your divine purpose. It's blurred sense of self. A lot of people are going to be really confused about themselves. Their identity is going to have some conflict. Okay. A lot of people are going to be online and be lost in the sauce with themselves. Okay. Now Neptune is also the person who sacrifices. So you have the martyrdom in action. Okay. Sacrificing your belief for the collective ideas. There's escapism through rage, mystical courage. And when I say escapism through rage, like people are going to be addicted to anger. Okay. They're going to be addicted to drama. They're going to get adrenaline off of this. Okay. Also, the war becomes mythic. It becomes more of a spiritual or religious aspect, and dreams and battles merge, fighting invincible forces of illusions. Okay, so that is what you have just for those two things. Now we're getting into this aspect of why I'm doing this video. Okay, now Neptune and Saturn combined, okay? Just combined. What we have, what it could look like, okay? And then I'm going to talk about predictions. I'm also going to condense the episode that I saw earlier, and yeah, we'll get into it. But the key themes of Neptune and Saturn conjunction is at the birth of an embodied visionary, okay? So grounding your highest ideals into bold, tangible leadership. Okay, the what may seem impossible, what may be intangible is now going to start and be pushed. Okay, it's sacred action. Okay, now you're dissolving the ego. Remember, you're dissolving the self, and you're building your true authentic self, because this is a new chapter of something. Okay, you could be rebuilding the archetype of masculinity and rebuilding what is war. That could be happening. Old definitions and strength of the collapse could be collapsing. Rebirth of divine masculine energy. We do have this discussion of gender, male and female. This could be a thing, or redefining or rebirthing the protector, the warrior. That could be happening. Now, there is going to be karma through action. Saturn represents karma. Now there's action. There's a spiritual or a survival of spirituality. Maybe there is a movement of some sort, or maybe there is a protection of some type of healing or trauma or physical spiritual energy, and now there is a fighting for it and protecting it. Okay, war, there's illusions of war, secrets of war, hidden wars. I know that doesn't make sense, but if we explained COVID when it happened, that wouldn't make sense as well. Okay. There could be war of the body that could be happening. Yes, and collective disillusionment with old leadership. Okay. A new class of spiritual activism, a new class of leaders, a new structure of leadership. All that can happen. I want to tell you about astrology because I just love astrology, right? The archetypes of astrology is the emperor. I wish I would have put these cards out first, but the emperor represents Aries energy. So you have that Saturn in Aries, and it's all about leadership and authority and structure. And then you have the hangman, which represents Neptune. And the hangman is about surrendering. It's about illusions. It's about sacrifices. It's also about looking at things in a new perspective. And that's where you have that Neptune in Aries, right? The tower, that represents Aries because it also represents the Mars. And the tower is it is chaos. Okay, it brings a crisis. It's the death of the ego. There's an awakening. You realize you are depending on a false structure. All these things are going to come to light. Okay, and then you have the Knight of Wands. Something that represents the Knight of Wands is a lot of fire, a lot of action, a lot of fight, a lot of passion, a lot of motivation, a lot of divine mission and starting something new and beginning. Okay, did I name everything? You also have the world. And so this is going to impact the world, right? Saturn represents the world. It represents success. It represents all this work you've done through your whole time. And now you can see some production of it. And there's going to be something new starting in that. Okay. Now we're moving into the history of Saturn and Neptune. Now, this is when we get into the podcast that I was listening to. Everything before is just me on my own. Okay. But the history of Saturn, what is that going to look like? Well, what did that look like? Okay. Now, remember, I told you this conjunction happens every 36 years. So, what an astrologer normally does is that they look at historical events, they look at the common themes, and then they helps them bring the predictions. Okay, so in 1773 we had the Boston Tea Party. Okay, in 1801 we had Napoleon's rise, and you had like a religious and secular reform happening. In 1846 we had the Oregon Treaty, border laws, that happened. In 1882 we had time zones, we had germ theory, we had secret societies, we had class revolts. In 1917 we had Russia has actually hit every 36 years something big happened in Russia, whether a leader was born or a leader died or there was war or there was huge change like the wall dropping. But Russia, huge. Okay. But during 1917, we had the Russian Revolution, the Spanish flu, we had global ideological war. 1952, Stalin's death, DNA discovered, vaccine revolution. And in 1989, we had the Berlin Wall fall. That involves Russia again. USSR dissolves and the rise of mass media. Okay. Now, that is what we had historically. Now, I'm going to talk about the core themes across history with Neptune conjunct Saturn. And when you hear these core themes, then you can comprehend what can happen in the future. And then I'll give my predictions. Okay. I also have a little extra because I fell into a little COVID hole and we're going to drop that in there. Normally, I would throw that in my community because, I want to talk freely, but I'm going to tiptoe into this and try my best to speak on this and not get, in trouble. Okay. Okay. So the core themes astrologically with this thing is first we had the collapse of empires and dynasties. When empires crumble and the crowns fall. Okay, that's what I want to word it. Okay. So remember, Saturn is about the leader, it's about an empire, it's about structure, and Neptune is going to end it and it's going to dissolve it. So in 410 ECE, we had the fall of the Roman Empire. In 1453, we had the fall of Constantinople. Okay, I butchered that name, so please forgive me. But in 1917, we had the collapse of Russia, and in 1989, the fall of the Soviet Union. Okay, so what I'm thinking that could be happen prediction wise is that there could be a symbolic or literal collapse of another superpower. Okay, perhaps something with Russia. There could be something in USA. Now we do have other elements added to this. I'm going to talk about that towards the end, but I'm thinking, of course, we're going to see a fall of something, of a leader or an infrastructure of some sort. Okay, Pluto is in Aquarius, but it's kind of at the beginning. So I would say a fall of a corporation for us tech wise. You think of Elon Musk. It is a little too early for a Pluto in Aquarius for that. If Pluto was further in Aquarius, maybe, but I'm just going to throw that out there so you can see how that happens. Now, another one is that we have the redefinition of borders, a starting new of borders, nations, and the identity of a nation, and redrawing the map, literally redrawing the map. Okay, remember, Saturn is about our borders. When Saturn's in Pisces, the borders weren't there. No one had borders. Everyone's crossing a border. Neptune is the eraser. Just erase it all, do over, and we have it in Aries. Okay, but before we get into prediction, we'll look at it historically. 1846 to 1848, Oregon Treaty, US Mexican War happened and the borders were drawn. In 1882, the Chinese Exclusion Act and the immigration law happened. In 1889, we had the fall of the Berlin Wall. That was a border. East and West Germany reunified. Okay, so a prediction here is that we could possibly see new borders. They may form digitally, right? Because we have this AI now with Pluto and Aquarius. We have Uranus in Gemini. I'm thinking at this time that will be happening. Uranus currently is in Taurus, so that could be happening. Actually, let me bring that back up. I'm changing the things. I was doing so good with my system because they added a new thingamabob. Anyway, but what you see here is that you have Uranus in Taurus, but Uranus is going to go in Gemini. So this is also major themes in communication and technology. Definitely could be happening. Okay, so you have that. So there could be some new boundaries that may form digitally, especially in that Gemini. Gemini is about communities. So that could be happening. Maybe some crypto cities, some 5-minute cities are discussed. AI nations are existing nations that may dissolve. That could be happening. And refugees, crises also too. What I did not show you here is that, let me bring, what happens too is what's going to happen, let me see, in June, is that we do have Jupiter in Cancer. So the discussion of homes, okay, is going to be a big deal, and it's going to be squaring this. So this could be a big, huge prediction, okay? A lot of redefining of what is your home and your community look like. What you value as your home is a major thing because this is squaring this. This conjunction sextile squares this. Okay. I've discussed Jupiter in Cancer. I've discussed the bad, the positive. Jupiter sometimes can bring positivity because it's a benefic planet, but I just want you to understand that that could be a big theme. Okay, so what else do we have? So redefining a map. In 1846, I talked about the borders already, right? In Berlin. Okay, yes, but we could have some refugees happening as well. Now, what else do we have throughout history? And I'll talk about the prediction is the laws of invisible forces. You're talking about science and spirits, okay? Cracking the code of the cosmos. And I forgot what Bremen, the podcast, named this, but basically, Neptune is about invisible things you cannot touch, things you cannot see, the invisible realms, and Saturn is about laws. So you had in 1966, Newton formulated gravity. You can't see gravity, but there's a new theory on gravity, right? And then in 1881 and 1883, we had the germ theory confirmed. In 1919, Epstein's relatively proven. What did he do? There was something he's done. What is he known for? Light, electricity? Yes. Oh, in 1953, you had DNA structure discovered, right? The double helix structure of the DNA was famously discovered around that time. So you have that. So these are things you cannot touch and you cannot see, but now there's new laws and there's science really heavily involved in this. So in the future, we could see some big theories of themes happening scientifically that are new and you cannot really see it. And these are like not it's not just science, but it's something like a new rule, a new law, like that gravity does exist. Okay. Expect breakthroughs in quantum biology, neurophysics, AI consciousness. It could be something big with AI that could be happening because AI we physically can't touch, but there could be some new rules and science behind that. Okay. But science and mysticism is going to be blurred. So there could be some confusion here still, but still too. But new natural laws may be written. Okay. Yes. Also, too, another one is popular uprisings, class revolts, rebellions. This is when we were talking about peasants. A lot of things with peasants happening, and this is going to be a revolution for the soul, you guys. Okay. Saturn again is repression, is limitations, is restriction. Neptune is a mass awakening. And it is for the insecure. It's for compassion too. So in 1773, we had the Boston Tea Party. In 1809 to 1811, we had the Latin American independence. In 1525, we had German Peasants' War. In 1989, we had the Eastern Bloc Uprising. Okay. So we could, in the future, have a lot of movements for people who are in lower class. Okay. Labor movements, digital protests, spiritual revolts, all that could be a fight. Watch for viral workers. Workers-led revolutions, like the youth may be leading an upheaval against outdated systems, especially with that Pluto and Aquarius that we have there as well. Okay. So I'm bringing this back to the stage here. This Pluto and Aquarius represents rebellions, of course. So we already have that with major technology, but we also could be having, when Uranus enters Gemini and it becomes strong, major battles of revolts and people really communicating. Gemini also represents the youth. It's going to be sextile this energy, so it's going to work really well with it, and we'll also talk about this beautiful thing here. But it's going to be really working well with it, and we're going to most likely see some rebellions. This is something that we've seen historically, and this is something we can see. Lower class, yes, because when I was doing Trump's chart reading for his when he got signed into presidency, there were discussions of minority cultures or groups or subgroups that were good and bad. It was two subcultures. And, we kind of already see that happening when people are boycotting Amazon and Target and DEI is what I was thinking. Anyway, okay. So moving back on to some more things that we're looking at in history, and we're bringing it to the future and predictions. Okay, so something religious, there's something mysticism, there's some spiritual schisms, as they called it on the podcast. And I'm saying, I'm going to title this is Breaking the Faith. Okay, Sacred Reformation. Okay, Neptune, spirituality. Neptune, religious. Neptune, what you feel. Okay, the feelings that you feel, the things that you cannot touch, all that, right? Saturn is institutional religion. Okay. Now in history, it's 622. Hira, I may not be pronouncing this right, right? There was a migration of Prophet Muhammad, okay? In 1521, Martin Luther was excommunicated. In 1953, Scientology, that was started, that was founded. In 1666, which I didn't do it in order, sorry, Russian Orthodox schism happened, okay? And that was a disillusionment and ending of something, okay? So my prediction is that the faith systems are going to be challenged. And I'm talking about the church, I'm talking about Christianity. If you already pay attention, if I don't know if you're not, but young people do not go to church. Also, too, church has changed into like watching it online on TV or through the internet. That is a big change. Like there was these big churches, and now they are changing. So I see a big theme with Christianity falling. Also, you have this war happening with Muslims and Jews. You have that going. It's like I'm scared to say the word Jews. Did you hear the hesitance? But I'm talking about all religions here, okay? But I'm just throwing those two examples. But the faith system alone, there could be a challenge happening because you have that a lot of religious things were broken down and stopped, and you also had new religions even starting, okay? So there could be some new occults or cults that could be happening, okay? There could be some virtual reality religions. I'm not making this up. I'm serious, okay? If they made a church for Beyonce, think of what they're going to do with virtual reality. Or maybe there's some techno spiritual leaders that could be rising. Like maybe there is a spiritual leader online or a spiritual leader, a famous TikToker who's very spiritual. I'm going to give church through TikTok, okay? That could be happening. Also expect deeper deconstruction of mainstream religion institution is what I just said. I do think there is going to be a big falling of Christianity. We'll see how that plays out. We will see. Okay, next one that we have that was a very historical thing throughout history with these themes of this conjunction is women in power. This was big, okay? So I'm excited to see. If you didn't know, Neptune is a strong feminine energy. Neptune and the moon, when they are involved, you're talking about feminine energy across the board. So if you have Neptune, Pisces, moon, Cancer, strong feminine energy, okay? So gender, also it's hidden authority and it's rising to the top. So I'm calling this, okay? The rise of hidden queens and the power in the shadows, okay? This is what we have, okay? Saturn is about public structure. Saturn is about leadership, okay? And about control because it has that limits and restriction. Now, in history, we have 121 CE, Empress. I'm not going to say the name, Ding Su, she passed away. So you had that happening. She was a leader and she passed. That is happening too. So the rise and fall, okay? In 1558, Queen Elizabeth the first becomes queen. In 1952, then we had Queen Elizabeth II. She started to rise. In 1881, we had a female-led assassination of Alexander II. Okay, like someone just went out and was like, pew pew, a female. Okay, 1848 from to 1920s, we had women's suffrages and property rights happening. Property rights, women even voting. Do I have that on here? Was big throughout this conjunction. A lot of women voting was big throughout this conjunction. So, what we will see. And two, when this conjunction happened, when women was voting, is happened in a lot of countries. Women's rights to vote. So we could have something with women's rights happening. Now, because we have this innuendo of gender, let's see what happens with in regards to that. Pluto and Aquarius might be not just women, but it could be transgender of some sort. That could be happening because maybe they are the new women. Okay. I'm just telling you what I think and giving you the real of what the translation could be. Women may rise suddenly to global power, hidden female leadership. That's the thing also too that I really want to point out. So Neptune is hidden and it's feminine energy, and Saturn comes and it brings the reality. Like here's the truth. Y'all was sitting here in Delulu land. We are going to bring the truth. So there may be a secret female leader behind scenes who's always been a leader. And now with this conjunction, it's going to start something new. It's going to bring something to the forefront. So gender definitions may be legally shift. Female hidden leaders probably will be coming into focus. Watch for powerful feminine figures to emerge from the shadows. Watch for something with women's rights as well, too. Okay. Now, another theme we have here, and we got like three more, assassinations happens with this conjunction. Okay, mysterious deaths. I've already talked about the assassination led by a female, and also a regime is collapsing. So when power dies and leaders fall, okay, again, Neptune adds confusion. So usually when it's happened, there is some chaos or confusion. That's what happens throughout history. And Saturn is the ruler, the leader. Okay, so in 661 CE, we had the assassination of Ally. I think of uh it just says ally. I condensed my notes. Okay. It was a lot of notes, and I get too wordy. In 1881, we had Alexander II. In 268 CE, we had the Roman Empire Gallienus. I don't know this history beyond this. Okay. In 1092 CE, they had the poisoning of Malik Shah, and that was in the Seljuk Empire. Okay. So there was more stuff happening, but those are the things that I pulled out. And prediction wise, I see that there could be a lot of high profile deaths that could be shifting power unexpectedly. Okay, so we could bring up Trump, and I'm not saying I want him to die. I'm just telling you it is what it is, right? We could bring up Putin. That could be happening. The guy who's in charge of Ukraine, that could be happening. But more something with Putin, because throughout history, Russia has had a big impact every time this conjunction has happened. Something big has happened every time. Actually, let me see if I can tell you exactly what Russia. Let me see, because I have it in my notes. I have it. Let me actually pull it up on my iPad, because when I was listening to this podcast, I was taking notes. Okay. So we're going to pull, I'm going to tell you what they said about Russia. And it was like every 36 years, Russia had a thing. Let me see. Endemics. Where is my Russia? Where is my Russia? Okay. If I can't find it, scrolling back up, you're just going to have to believe me when I tell you that Russia. Okay, here we go. Turning points. Major. They titled this "Turning Major Turning Points in Russia History." Okay. I'm going to title it "Watch Out for Russia." Here comes Russia. Okay. In 1989, we had the Soviet Union that ended. In 1953, we had Stalin die and Putin was born. Okay. In 1917, Russia's revolution. In 1881, we had Alexander II assassinated. In 1884, Alexander III was born. Okay. I'm assuming these are Russian leaders. In 1809, Russia and Finland from Sweden become autonomous. In 1774, Russia in the Ottoman War, and Russia takes Crimea. I think he talked about that in not in Candace, and when that guy who went to Russia visited. Let me see. We have a comment here. We have here, it says, love, love, love your angel work, Danielle. Thank you so much. From Canada's BC. Oh, thank you so much. That is so sweet. Thank you for continuously watching and being here. Okay. What else do we have? In 1703, St. Petersburg was founded. In 1667, end of Russia-Polish War. Okay. Yes, it keeps going. In 1666, Great Moscow declared patriarch. And this is all dealing with Russia. In 1595, Russia-Sweden treaty returns lands to Russia. This is every 36 years they have something. We may not have it noted. I may not have it noted here, but just be ready for the prediction of Russia. Everyone, keep your eyes on Russia. I could probably predict what happens if I connect Russia's chart when this conjunction happens. So we'll see. We'll do that a little bit later. But yeah, because not everyone here is from Russia. But you know, what happens in one country does affect the world. You're talking about trades and tariffs. You have all that. Anyway, so but back to my major theme here, which I was talking about. Wait, let me go back to my theme here, which is I was talking about the historical themes. That's what we have here. But this theme here is assassination, mysterious deaths, and a whole regimen being collapsed. Okay, so high profile deaths could shift some powers unexpectedly, and that can cause some chaos. Okay, imagine if something happens to Donald Trump. Imagine the chaos from all the Trumpsters. Okay, and I am not a blood or a crip, but I am an American, and I do vote, but I am bipartisan. I do not vote for them. Sorry. Sorry if I'm disappointing any of you guys, but I don't take the blue pill or the red pill. I'm not in a matrix. It's okay if you are. Understandable. Everyone has their personal opinions, but I am not for Trump or with Trump. I understand all of it. I watch it all. But anyway, but I do think there could be something unexpected happening there. The death or removal of a world leader under mysterious circumstances could happen because this happened throughout history. Okay. Remember, I'm talking about poison, I'm talking about assassinations. All that could be happening in the future. Okay. And again, could be happening around the middle of the year of 2025 in the summer, and then also it's going to be strong in 2026. Okay, another thing that happens is secret society shadow governments and conspiracies. Again, I'm going to call this smoke screens. We're going to talk about these conspiracy theories and the tin hats. Okay, that's going to be bigger. Okay, Neptune is all about the conspiracies, and now we have some new conspiracies coming to the table in Aries. Saturn is about structure, it's about governments, it's about societies, it's about limitation. Okay, so in 1307, the Knights Templar was destroyed. In 1882, Standard Oil secret trust happened. We had MK Ultra, which I have a great book that I'm reading, Chaos. If you look at my books through astrology, this is very much about chaos, and it talks about CIA. That is very Neptune and Saturn conjunction kind of book. A little Scorpio energy in there, but anyway. But in 1953, they had that mind control happening, and in 1916, they had a skies peacock agreement. So again, whistleblowers, which I said in my prediction in Aries season, around Aries time, we're going to get some whistleblowers. I saw on a podcast that there was a whistleblower. Maybe it was an AI whistleblower, but that whistleblower has come up because now people feel brave to speak up. So anyway, but we may have some deep state collusion here, corporation cover-ups, of course. Okay, spiritual leaders being in secret, spiritual manipulation, secrets blurred for decades may emerge. Okay, but there is some conspiracy theories here, and things were destroyed or things were started. A secret societies also was started with this conjunction. So let's see who's going to make a secret society. Is the WEF going to go somewhere new and be like, no, we need a new group? Okay, new secret society, because Neptune's in Aries and we need to start something new and keep it a secret. And is it going to be involving a government? Okay, or someone who has some strong power? Now, and is Elon Musk going to be involved? Okay, these are all just like my theories of conspiracy theories. There's no evidence backing this. Okay, also too, we have dreams versus reality. Okay, we have awakening, disillusionment, we have shattered illusions. Okay, Saturn is the realness, it's going to bring the serious energy, and Neptune is like, is this happening? So we could have the collapse of utopian ideology, we can have grassroots spiritual awakenings, institutional failures leads to personal sovereignty. Okay, I do see some predictions of reckoning with what we believe. Who do we follow? Who do we trust? People may either collapse into Delululand, or maybe they'll rise into a visionary action. We'll see that happening as a collective. Okay, we do have this minor grand trine happening, but before I get into that, I want to talk about why we don't trust these. Okay, and this is about the jab. This is about vaccines. This is about pandemics. This is about the body. And I'm entitling this, The Body May Be a Battlefield, Jabs and all. And why don't we trust these? Okay. Let me get into, I fell into a little bit of a hole with this. And throughout history, we did have some pandemics and vaccines that were happening with this. Okay. So Neptune is about infections. It is about toxins. It's about medication and drugs too. Okay, narcotics, pharmaceutical things. Okay, I talked about that earlier in the video, but now there could be a newness of this happening right now. Along with Saturn is about control and containment. Saturn was the big heavy duty planet that was dealing with COVID. If you look throughout the astrology charts, if you go back to COVID, you see Saturn is playing a role every single time. It's dealing with Pluto, it's dealing with Jupiter, it's dealing with Neptune. It is heavy duty. And when it hits 0 degrees, I cannot say that strong enough. When it hits 0 degrees, that's when it becomes bigger. Let me actually show you this, because if we go back to 2020, let me just show you. I don't know. I'm pretty sure other astrologers showed you this, but when we go back to 2020, and I had this in my notes here. First of all, actually, let me not jump the gun. Let me first explain to you. Okay, in 13, before we get into COVID, okay, but in 1346, in 1629, in 1665, in 1918, we had plagues and we had the Spanish flu. In 1952, in 1988, all these things are happening during conjunction of Saturn and Neptune. Okay, we had polio, measles vaccines, and we had a vaccine movement happening. Okay, now let's get into 2020. Okay, so if we get into 2020, we had COVID-19. Also, we have the bird flu coming up. Okay. H1N1, what date was that? I didn't look that up, but I'm sure that has something to do with this too. I want to talk about March 11th is what we have here. March 11th. Okay, if we move to March 11th, if we see where Saturn, okay, this is March 25th, but it moves slow. Saturn hit 0 degrees at March 11th. Let me go back so we can see. Here it is at 29 degrees, okay? And it is closing some up. It is like, oh my gosh, at 29 degrees, we are going to shut it down, okay? Saturn at 29 degrees is shutting things down. Let me see. Let me put now. Now it's at 23 degrees. Wait until Saturn goes back to 29 degrees. Oh, I thought I was showing you guys. Let me show you guys. Hold up. Hold up. Wait a minute. Okay, first of all, I want you to see it's at 23 degrees right now. Okay. Now, if we go back to 2020, and if we go back to March, March here, right? If you see, and I'll go back 2 weeks. If you see around March 11th, it was at 29 degrees. Okay. It's an urgency. Hurry up. Things got to get intense. We got to close things out. Get ready for that. Okay. With Saturn and Pisces. And I'll explain it a little bit more as it before it hits 29 degrees, but because this is about something else, but I fell into the small hole. Okay. And then when it hits 0 degrees, it even got stronger. Okay. So around March 11th is when we had the 0 degrees, 29 to 0 degrees, right? March 13th is when we had a national emergency, and it was sitting close to Pluto, but Saturn's in a picture. This is what I'm saying. Saturn is always in a picture. Okay. Saturn is the main focus of on here. So if Saturn moves into Aries, what is the pandemic? New pandemic, because Aries represents something new. Okay. But there may be a pandemic of some sort. Okay. So March 13th, we had a national emergency declared, and it was sitting next to Pluto. And then conjunct Pluto. And then in February, we also had something in February. Why is my note saying this? Okay. So in January, February. Oh, maybe that's when the vaccine started. Maybe that happened. And look what's happening. Jupiter, we're getting close to Jupiter. So something even big happening. Okay. Oh, here we go. And then around September, okay, Saturn just entering the building of Aquarius. I have that. March 19th, California issued the first statewide stay-at-home order. That happened when Jupiter was hitting that 0 degrees. So watch out when not Jupiter, when Saturn hit 0 degrees in Aries. Something restrictive, maybe in regards to war, but something that could be happening in a pandemic. Okay. President Biden issued an executive order requiring COVID-19 vaccinations for employees and federal workers. This order was signed in September 9th. Okay. So if we go to September 9th, we move to September 9th, right? Around September 9th, it's retrograding. Jupiter is retrograding too. Jupiter represents law, but they're still in the same house. They're both in Aquarius, okay? And that is representing, he tried to sign something. It did not go. It did not pass the Supreme Court. That did not happen. That was of January 22nd, because he signed it in September. And in January, it stopped retrograding and said, no, a matter of fact, the planet stopped retrograding. This is not going to go through. Okay. So he tried to make that happen. It didn't happen. Vaccines in many states, the deadlines for the first dose happen around January 2022. Jupiter is almost 15 degrees. So it's like, okay, 15 degrees is a strong degree. Okay. And a full vaccination happened. The full vaccination, like everyone, you can get 3, 4 vaccines. All that happened around February 2022, or maybe everyone can get vaccinated around that time. I don't know. That also happened too, and we have is getting closer. Also too, I saw that as of January 2027, when that first dose came around, the sun was combust. If we go exactly to January 2027, oh, I don't have the sun here. I want you to see that the sun is sitting kind of close to Saturn, meaning combust, meaning that Saturn is not working its best. Okay, it's combust, and that is when that happened. That is when everyone, oh, you get to get your first vaccine. Okay, that happened. Pluto entered Capricorn. It was conjunct Mars. When it was February 28th, Pluto is sitting here with Mars and Venus, and what else is sitting there? So Pluto is like the government has got to change. We got to fight for the government. We got to fight for a restriction. Anyway, understand I fell in a small hole. Okay. But with this prediction, with this, far as this conjunction, just with Neptune and Saturn alone, I do want you to understand that there could be some new diseases. There could be affection of the brain, something with the immune system. Remember, the nervous system is involved here. Biosurveillance, smart vaccines, public health rebellions could be happening. Now, I want to explain to you why I think it's not trustworthy. Okay. Now, Neptune, again, it rules pharmaceuticals, it rules chemical manipulation. I want you to understand it's your body, your choice. You can do whatever you want. I am in agreement of that. If you want to run and get 10 of the jabs, 100% is your body. You can do it. If you want to get an abortion, I believe it's your body. You know, that's between you and the baby daddy, but it's not my choice. That is your choice. I strongly believe that. Okay. So that's separate. Now we're just going to talk about the astrology. I'm going to tell you what it means. Okay. Aries is instant results. Aries wants to make things move really fast. Okay. Aries is really impatient. Okay. Aries also represents the first. Okay. So expect a lot of flashy miracle cures. Okay. Especially with the brain or inflammation or aggressive, very aggressive related conditions. Okay. So like something that's very aggressive is moving fast. I have a cure for it. There's a medication for it. Okay. But the side effects could be hidden with that Neptune energy. Also too, because you have Saturn happening here in Aries, and it's like, we want the government wants to move fast, and a lot of these procedures and a lot of these guidelines that could be happening too. But there could be some long-term data that could be suppressed here. Okay, Saturn wants instant results. Aries wants instant results. Neptune wants to learn the fine print. Okay, so you can have manipulation of the brain, anything connected with your body, all that could be like drugs altering the brain or perceptions or your mood or your emotions. All that could be happening. It could be numbing rather than healing, and appeal for clarity. Imagine that could be coming. Like here, you can take a pill for you to have clarity, because and it's really an illusion, the side effects. Okay, there could be a moral fog or in biotech and medical ethics. So Neptune can dissolve ethical boundaries in pursuit of higher ideals. Okay, so pharma, big, that those companies, the Pfizer's, the Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, I don't know all of them. All right, they may have some marketing, spiritual charged drugs that could be happening. Okay, like, oh, these are medications that can make you more enlightened, make you more spiritual. Okay, that could be happening because you're talking about new forms of medication and new forms of medication. Okay, Neptune hides the long-term karmic effect of these things. Okay, and it's all about the money, money, money. Okay, and they want the money fast. Okay, just because it's possible doesn't mean it's sacred. Okay, now there could be weaponizing medicine that could be happening. Okay, Aries does rule warfare. Okay, and Neptune rules toxins and deception. Right, so we can see new forms of chemical warfare. We can see which that has happened throughout history of this conjunction. I just want you to know that we can see neurological agents, biohacking tools, and it may be marketed as a medical breakthrough, but it has a hidden agenda. So a treatment may be a Trojan horse. If you don't know about the Trojan horse, it's when they were like, here's a gift to you, it's a Trojan horse, and then they open a horse and it was really the enemy coming out. Okay, we may have had that during COVID. Some say, where Trump says China, the China disease, that may have happened. But with Neptune and Aries, that could possibly happen. Okay, so again, that's why I titled this I Don't Trust These. Okay, now there could be distrust of traditional medicine that could be rising. Okay, because all of this, everything that I just said, there could be a lot of delulu, confusion, conspiracy theories, on new medications, okay? New medications are medications that come fast. Just get ready for that. A lot of distrust of traditional medicine also could be making a shift because Neptune in Aries is about the individual, right? So individually, Neptune rules illusions, mysticism, chemicals, dreams, healing through surrendering. And Aries is about the body and the self and instincts and survival. And it's that fire. And Neptune brings that confusion to the action. Okay. Yes. And people may be more suspicious of anything that's dealing with a chemical or a drug or a medication. Okay. That could be happening. And it's more about your intuitive base. It's also about your gut instinct. Your gut is saying, this is not, I don't know if I should be taking that. That could be happening. There could be a lot of energy based healing, a lot of somatic therapy, DIY spiritual healings, ritual baths too, or like that Reiki kind of thing. But I watched a movie on Netflix. I forgot what it was called. I felt like it was so brainwashing. Okay. That is that very Neptune in Pisces. I just want you to understand that. But it was, and it was in Saturn's in Pisces too, as I'm watching this. So it makes me very aware. Keep your eyes open. But I want you to understand that this show on Netflix it's a movie, and it was saying that the person felt with her gut that she should not take this cancer, like she had cancer of the arm, and she's like, no, I don't think I should do chemo. I'm going to do the natural way. Well, in the movie, it worked, right? She's doing the natural way, and she starts to become this big influencer and shares her way. And then over time, it didn't work. She was healing, but then all of a sudden she got back sick. She convinced her mom to do it, even though she knew she was sick. And then her mom died. Her mom had the same cancer, and she tried to do the natural way, and then she died. She convinced some of her followers to do it, and they decided at the end to do it the natural way and to take the medication. And basically, it was weaponizing the natural way of doing things. I want you to understand that is very Neptune in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces. Okay. Do not go off of what your intuition is telling you. It is a Lululand. Okay. And we're going to put this in a film. Okay. Okay. Anyway, Neptune in Aries awakens the sacred warrior within, and the warrior listens to the body over medication. I'm not saying to not take medication. I had a headache. I'm going to take Tylenol. Okay. So I want you to understand, but you need to have some grounded logical evidence. You need to look at what are the numbers really telling you. They're going to hide the data. They're going to hide the numbers. I was just seeing that, and mind you, this is not a blood or a crypt thing, meaning that this is not a Republican or a Democrat thing. This is an individual, your individual self thing. Okay. Take yourself out of the group. Take yourself out of the structure that they are putting yourself in, and put yourself into your own individual thought and self. Okay. Running on a tangent here. But I did see something too on this podcast, the episode that I'm doing this off of. In that podcast, they were saying that Trump realized that the testing, which is very Saturn testing, the data that was shown, he says, I'm not showing that results anymore. We're going to hide those results. That's very Saturn and Pisces. So basically, which I'm sure Biden did as well. Okay. I 100% think that is what the government does. Okay. Mind you, and when Trump, his whole rule is under Saturn and Pisces. I just want you to understand that as well. But he says he's going to hide the data because basically it brings fear on people. And then how do you have control if you're just telling everyone the numbers? Okay. Very Leo rising kind of energy, right? Anyway, Saturn and Aries individually, Saturn rules structure, boundaries, institutions, responsibility, discipline, long-term energy. And Aries again is that individual instinct, the anger, the action, the physical health. All that is going to bring new questions about your autonomy and do you consent, and what does your body really want to have in charge of? More control and accountability is what's going to happen too. What I think with this medication and with any type of new form of medication, I think people are going to be like, no, going off my gut instinct, and I'm going to be more responsible with my physical health. Okay. Saturn in Aries teaches no one's coming to save you. So you must create your own healing system. I love that quote, don't you? Anyway, so collectively, I think that with this whole thing is that we are going to see who owns, oh, let me take this off. Who owns your body? What's healing really mean? How much is the truth really hiding? Okay. Beware of questioning all that. Okay. There's a lot of deception. There's a lot of going to be a lot of fake killers, a lot of fake leaders, a lot of new occults, a lot of new people starting and new medications. And Saturn is going to bring that fear. Saturn's going to bring the fear of anything new. I just want you to understand that Saturn in Aries does represent that. So everyone has to use their own discernment and take your time. Okay. Yes. Okay. So now let's talk about lastly. We're going to talk about this grand trine, okay? It is a minor grand trine, okay? And it's going to be a portal of change. I've discussed this in my last weekly, no, it was a monthly video. I discussed this, and the Saturn in Aries, okay? Let me see if this is a picture here. So if you look here, where is my conjunction? I don't even have it on here. Okay. But if you see where Saturn actually, let me pull it back on stage. Hold up. Wait a minute. I thought that was a picture of it. Let me go to now, and then we are going to move this here. Okay. Let me remove some planets here. We'll remove you. We'll remove you and you and you. None of you guys can come to the party. Okay, so this is what we have here. This is what's really going on here. Okay, Saturn is conjunct, they're hugging, and there's a sextile to Uranus because Uranus is actually going to move here. There is a sextile to Uranus when it enters Gemini, and there's a sextile to Pluto when it enters what was in Aquarius. So this may be as not negative as we think, especially when it first happens. This is going to be really positive. Okay. Now, remember, we talked about the conjunction. We know what that means. So we already talked about what these two planets hugging each other mean, but we didn't talk about this sextile and we didn't talk about this sextile. Okay. So this Pluto sextile to this conjunction could be a mass transformation with technology, with social media, with something with the future. Are we going out of space? I don't know. Are we going out of space and getting a medication? That could be happening. Are people praising the god of the third, fourth moon that's discovered? That could be happening, okay? Structural revolutions and collective systems like the government and the AI and data and community. There could be a big shift in that. That could be happening. But it's positive, okay? Also, what we have here is just Uranus. This is also sextile, this beautiful energy here of this conjunction, beautiful, strong. Okay. But there could be with Uranus. Uranus means sudden shift. It also means major communication, also means all those influencers like TikTok, social media, all that. But a major change. So a rapid innovation in communication, in media, in language, in AI. Are we getting a new language? Maybe in transformation. There could be a mind upgrade. Remember, because we're talking about the head and the mind. Maybe it's disrupting how we speak and how we think and we share knowledge. But there's something new here that's being brought to the table, and it's going to be very advanced tech-wise. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. All this is connected, okay? Gemini, Aquarius, very intelligent zodiac signs here, and now it's something new that's going to begin. Okay. New spiritual codes that could be happening, mass system collapse, a rebirth, a restructuring, something that could be dealing healing or psychology or intensity or power that's going to start up. And there's quantum leaps in communication and social media. It's going to be big. Okay. Now, let me see. Quantum leaps in communication, radical political innovation, mind body rewiring, a new spiritual order, a collapse of illusionary institutions, a rise of conscious inventor, mystic technologists, and spiritual coder. We're going to see what happens with this. It's going to be positive. This is trining as well, meaning that once Uranus enters Gemini, something big and transformative is going to happen in regards to our future and social media. If you are big in social media, watch out. It's going to be a doozy for you, okay? In the best way, okay? So, if you felt like the echoes of the past, because things from the past are going to be brought to your future. I love when we talk about history. I am a Cancer. I have my Sankofa tattooed on me, meaning that you need to know your history in order to know your future. So the echoes of the past and the pull of something new is going to happen together. Okay. because we have this Saturn and Neptune and Aries, and I'm looking at something historically, every time we have this conjunction and they meet, we're going to rewrite something. There's something, a new chapter that's going to begin. Borders could be shifting, empires could be falling, beliefs could be breaking or starting new or opening, and something entirely new is going to begin, especially with Aries, okay? History may be repeating itself. But this time we are here to live it and experience it, to shape it, to reshape it, to bring something new to the table, and to choose how our next chapter unfolds. Okay. If you guys really love this, if you're like, oh my gosh, I enjoyed all this, please help me out. I didn't ask you at the beginning, but since you're here to the end, please like, subscribe. That really helps me out. Okay. Drop a comment. Let me know what you enjoyed. If you love the historical part, are you in fear? Don't live in fear. But you need to have some strength. You need to be brave. You need to be the warrior. Okay. Do something new because there is a new chapter starting. Please check out the podcast that I've got this from because they did all the work. I was just inspired to condense it and do something at the end of it. Okay. What I forgot to do is do my countdown, my intro, but I won't forget to do my ending. But thank you guys for watching. Oh. I forgot. I want to pull some tarot. Let me pull some tarot on this theme here and let's see what we have. Let me see. Do I have a banner just on tarot? I don't, but we will do the tarot anyway. Okay. Let's see what we have for this conjunction. I'm going to pull two. I'm going to pull tarot on this conjunction that happens in 2025 and then the conjunction that happens very strongly in 2026. Okay. So in 2025, and this is in 2026, the tarot deck that I'm using, you guys, is what tarot deck is this? This is the Rosebud Tarot. Oh, the Rosebud Tarot here, okay? Let me actually make this bigger. And I think it's all feminine tarot, which is very interesting. So, new things we have Felicity of Water. Felicity of Water. This is a night, water energy here. That makes me think that Neptune is going to be strong here. And we have Curiosity of Water. So we have some new energy in water. We're going to be very, water means emotions, something involving our intuition, something that we cannot touch. That's very intangible. So something new, and we're excited about it. That is what we're going to get with this first conjunction. There's a curiosity. We're intrigued. We're going to learn something new. We may be a little hesitant and moving slow, but we're like, ooh, what is this? What is this medication? What is this new theory? That's going to be happening. But a lot of fighting too. If you didn't know, this is the night. She's fighting for compassion. She's fighting for love. She's fighting for charity. She's fighting for oneness. She's fighting for the conspiracy theories that everyone's arguing. You guys, I just made the video big and I see I am really in my pajamas. I got my robe behind me. Okay. I haven't even worked out, haven't eaten breakfast, but my youngest is on spring break, so I'm on spring break. Anyway, so what do we have for 2026? Lastly, we have the Life Giver. Actually, let me see. What is this? This is a deck that I don't use that often. And I just want to make sure. Okay, it is. It is the Empress. Okay. So we have the Empress and we have, oh, I think this is the High Priestess. Okay, so we have the High Priestess and the Empress. Okay. Okay, you guys, this is going to be, here is the Empress. If you see her, she's basking in a lot of energy. Okay, she's got all the luxuries of life, but also this represents fertility. So something definitely is going to be something starting new for sure. Okay, the astrology saying it, the tarot saying it. In 2026, I think it's the middle of 2026, we're going to see the birth of something new, right? And it could be the birth of something that's very spiritual, something that's subconscious, something that we cannot touch. Like I said, those germs or DNA or what is that called? Gravity, something new that we cannot touch, something new with the subconscious, something new with spirituality, something new that is intangible that's going to happen. And that's what's going to happen in 2026. So in 2025, we're going to be, really excited and anxious to really get something started. There could be war happening for sure, but there's going to be compassion led by this war. Just so you know, that also could be dealing with spirituality. And we're moving slow. But there is that water element of emotions, compassion, love, and relationships. Okay. Relationships between two countries, relationships between religions, relationships with spirituality. On the 2026 side, for us tarot, it is saying that there is something new that's going to be given birth to, that's going to start a new chapter, especially in the subconscious, in things that we cannot touch, in things that's very mysticism. Okay. In the truth, in the things that are hidden as well. Okay. Yes, that is what I have. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time. All right. Bye.
Bye bye.